Welcome to this explainer on exactly how to do content creation. Today, we're going on a bit of a journey. We're going to follow a creator's cinematic climb, starting all the way down at a chaotic, messy desk covered in scribbled notes and trekking all the way up to a profitable, fully optimized content empire. So if you're trying to figure out the actual step-by-step blueprint to make content creation a sustainable career, well, you are definitely in the right place. Let's dive right in. To set the stage, let's start with a massive, honestly, kind of eye-opening statistic. 57% of Gen Z wants to become an influencer. Just wrap your head around that. It proves that content creation absolutely isn't just a fun side hobby anymore, right? It's a highly competitive, completely viable career path. But because there are literally millions of people pouring into this space, you can't just wing it anymore. You absolutely need a system if you want to stand out from the noise. So think of this as our blueprint for today. We're going to cover 1, building your content workflow, 2, structuring with content pillars, 3, writing for SEO and humans, 4, measuring your content performance, and finally, 5, monetizing your content journey. All right, let's jump straight into part 1, building your content workflow. Look, before we can even think about building an empire, we have to tackle that messy desk. Every single creator faces the dreaded blank page syndrome. You sit down, you demand your brain to be creative, and absolutely nothing happens. It's frustrating. To beat this, content strategist Jade Beeson recommends something she calls a pre-ideation system. The goal here is to constantly capture ideas when you are completely off duty, when you're walking the dog or grabbing coffee. You do this through a quick headline dump on your phone, keeping a visual swipe file for those sparks of inspiration, and logging thought starters when a random conversation suddenly gives you a brilliant idea. Once you have those ideas, you actually have to execute on them. And for that, you need to map out the physical workflow stages in a tool like Asana or Trello. Don't just make a to-do list that says, make video. That's way too vague. You want to seamlessly track every single idea from being prepped to filmed, briefed out to an editor, checked over, and finally uploaded. Doing this completely eliminates that horrible friction of wondering, wait, where did I leave off on that project? But hey, let's be real. What happens when life just gets in the way? Every creator, no matter how organized, has an off week. That's why it is vital to build what sounds like a very dramatic but incredibly useful kill switch. A kill switch is just your fallback plan. It's a stash of easy-to-produce content. Think throwing up a quick Q&A box on your stories, posting a timeless, evergreen video you banked months ago, or just smartly repurposing old posts. It keeps your channel active and consistent without pushing you into burnout territory. Moving right along to part 2, structuring with content pillars. Now that we have a solid workflow humming along, it's time to build some structural integrity. A lot of people think a content pillar is just an important social media post, but according to the team at Uniform, a pillar is actually a massive central hub of information. It acts like a scalable framework. So from one gigantic, in-depth piece, you could extract dozens of smaller micro-concepts to sprinkle across different platforms. It basically drastically reduces the amount of original, from-scratch thinking you have to do on a daily basis. To build out those pillars, you basically have 3 workhorse strategies. You've got your what is blogs, which are perfect for breaking down really complex definitions. Then you have your how-to tutorials, where literally every single step can become its own micropost. And finally, you have comprehensive guides aimed at beginners. These 3 formats do the heavy lifting for your entire content model. They give you this deep, never-ending well of information to draw from. Which brings us to part 3, writing for SEO. And more importantly, writing for humans. When you're sitting down to actually write that pillar content, there's a big trap a lot of people fall into. The Fight for Site SEO guide perfectly highlights a major contrast here. True SEO is highly user-centric. It prioritizes human readability first and just weaves keywords in naturally. What SEO is not is keyword stuffing, writing like some broken robot, or packing a page with industry jargon just hoping to game an algorithm. Remember, the human on the other side of the screen always comes first. And you really see this balance play out when it comes to proper metadata. In practice, you want to aim for a really crisp title, somewhere between 50 and 80 characters, usually with your brand name tucked right at the end. Below that, a concise description under 180 characters. Sure, it absolutely needs to include a keyword so search engines understand it, but way more importantly, it has to sound human enough to compel an actual person to click on it. But wait, the second you take that long-form, beautifully optimized pillar content and try to adapt it for social platforms, the rules completely change. As the software company Sprinkler notes, your social copy has to instantly pivot.
It literally has to be designed to stop the endless scroll. You only get a split second to capture someone's attention, build relevance, and drive an immediate action. It's punchier, it's faster, and it is entirely behavior-focused.
Okay, part 4, measuring your content performance. As we climb higher up this mountain, we really need to know if we're even on the right path, right? To truly understand how to do content creation successfully, you can't just look at vanity metrics. The experts at Consensus point out 4 core areas we have to track. Engagement tells us if people are actually spending time with the content. Conversions tell us if they care enough to take an action, like signing up for an email list. Business impact measures if the content actually made money or saved the business time. And operational metrics, that just tells us how efficiently we are actually producing the work behind the scenes. Now, tracking all of this would be easy if it were a straight line, but spoiler alert, it almost never is. Attribution is wildly complex. Audiences rarely just click one single tweet and then immediately pull out their credit card to buy a product. It's more like a web. They might read a pillar post on Tuesday, watch a short video on Thursday, and then maybe sign up for your newsletter 2 weeks later. You really have to look at the holistic journey to understand what's actually working.
And finally, the summit. Part 5, monetizing your content journey. So, our creator has reached the top. Now, how do we turn this beautiful system into actual in-the-bank revenue? Podcaster and creator Sammy Cohen reveals some fascinating levers you can pull when pricing a brand deal. You don't just reply with a flat rate. For example, you can and should charge a premium if a brand demands strict creative control over your script. You absolutely charge a premium for market exclusivity, meaning you can't work with their competitors for a set time. And you definitely add a hefty fee for usage rights. That's when a brand takes your face and voice to run their own targeted paid ads.
But relying on brand deals alone is risky. Sammy calls it a lumpy cash flow. You might get a massive check one month and absolutely nothing the next. To combat that roller coaster, it is vital to cut out the middleman. You need to build your own digital storefronts to sell things like courses or ebooks. You also want to tap into platform payouts from places like YouTube and generate dependable, passive revenue through affiliate marketing. That is how you build a stable, bulletproof business. So, there it is. We've gone from a messy desk to a highly measured, fully monetized empire. You now have the exact workflow, structural, and business blueprints to succeed as a creator. But a blueprint is completely useless without someone to actually build the house. So as you look at your own blank page right now, the only question left to answer is, what are you going to create today?